So I just paused the hbomberguy plagiarism video at about the 2.5 hour mark, and I'm sitting down to record this immediately because I don't want to lose the thoughts that are in my head, because there's a lot of very important things that he says in this video that rang very true for me, and I think it's important that I say something about this as a small creator, because a lot of the points that he's making are about these massive YouTubers doing this on a very large scale. But it also happens on a much, much smaller scale all the time. And the main thing that I want to talk about here is something that he kind of touched on very briefly at one point, talking about content mills. And I'd like to expand on that and then, relate it to the reason that people are even plagiarizing in the first place. This isn't going to be anything revelatory to a lot of people. I'm sure we all know why people plagiarize. It's the same people, those fucking idiots you went to high school with, plagiarize their essays. They're either too lazy or too dumb to do it themselves. But there's a third influence in plagiarizing and content mills and low effort content in general as far as content creation goes. And that factor is that low effort videos, and here's the key part, that can be created very quickly are super incentivized in the current YouTube algorithm. But it's not just YouTube, it's everything. If you can tweet fast, if you can post to Reddit fast, if you can, stream something before other people can stream it. The reason that I very closely relate to this as a smaller content creator is because I just experienced it myself for the first time. Now, my experience wasn't with plagiarism particularly, but it was with a very low effort video that I made that absolutely popped off. It doubled my sub count and got me into the YouTube partner program in one video. It's currently, as I'm recording this, sitting at about 90,000 views, which is a couple more than I usually get. And the thing that drives me nuts is that I basically made the video on a whim over the course of a couple hours in one night. It took so little effort from me, and it outperformed everything else that's taken multiple days, a bunch of writing, recording, planning. All of that stuff got washed out by a video that I made about a booby game. I also have literally no idea where I'm going to throw this in the video, but I realized as I hit stop record that I have a kind of funny anecdote about recently being accused of not plagiarizing, but like stealing content myself. So on that video about Wedding Witch, which was like the booby game, that got like a bunch of views for me, in the comments section there was some dude that kind of came on a little strong and was like, why isn't there a link to the game? Which, like, fair. I fully acknowledged, and I was like, absolutely, I understand, but also chill the fuck out, because it was in the title. I said the name of the game like 30 times in the video. Everybody in the comments was talking about it. It's in the hashtags. It's in the description. The information was there for anybody who was not too lazy to type the words into the search bar themselves, but including a link makes it more direct. You can get more people to click the link and go directly to the game. I get it. This person then went on to basically compare me to people stealing content without crediting it, and like people posting full stories without giving the source and that kind of stuff. Out of spite, I refused to put any links to anything in the description of that video. But in future videos, I've obviously, I've made the change, and I've started linking directly to it because I think they made a good point, even if they were kind of a cunt about it. But what's funny is I got accused of that, very much not stealing anything and very much giving credit to the people that deserved it. And meanwhile, there's people out there stealing shit all the time and getting away with it absolutely scot-free. The difference is they get a zillion comments a day, and I respond to pretty much every one of them, so they can just ignore it, whereas I engage directly with the interesting people, let's call them. Now, the reason behind this isn't just that sex sells, it's also because I managed to, because I made this video very quickly on a whim because I thought it was funny, I managed to fill a hole in the YouTube algorithm. A lot of people were searching for content on this game because it made the new and trending page on Steam. And nobody had really put out anything interesting on it. It was just people kind of like playing the game like a normal YouTube Let's Play, and that doesn't really fly very much anymore. So my video, as low effort as I might have thought it to be, was the first semi-interesting content for people searching for this thing to pop up. So it performed very well. The thing that drove me nuts about that is that the video I made immediately following that was about a game called Mosalina. I adore that game. I put a lot of time and effort into matching the style of the aesthetic of the game with the editing in the video. I tried my best to showcase the best of the game because it's a smaller game and I wanted to show it to a lot of people. This video took me a little bit to make. It's not filling a particular hole in the YouTube algorithm, and despite the fact that I made what I thought was a pretty killer thumbnail, a decent title, it's sitting at about 500 views. And if I'm being perfectly honest with myself, I would bet about half of those probably came from the creator of the game retweeting my tweet about the video that I made. And that's kind of the thing that I want to touch on, at least from a small creator perspective. One of the big incentives for these creators to plagiarize or just to absolutely pump out sludge is because if you can get it out quickly, you're, one, risking a lot less, but two, you're finding the holes in the algorithm before other people can get to it with something better. So I do a lot of like reviews of video games. They're not always like the most in-depth, but I always try to make the videos at least entertaining. But one of the things that you'll see a lot, especially if you play indie games, is that there's an economy for getting the first video out on a game. Now, when it comes to bigger like AAA stuff, the big YouTubers and big Twitch streamers are going to be the ones that get the paid advertisements and they get a couple days ahead, so they're going to get all the views. But when it comes to indie games, a lot of smaller creators can actually compete to be able to be the people to premiere footage and reviews of this game, whatever that game may be. And the reason that everybody, there's like a rat race and people climbing up the pile to try and get to the top and get their video out first is because that's the one that's going to take off. The reason my video on Wedding Witch did so well is not because it was really good. It's not because it was doing something that other people can't do. It's because I filled the niche first. When I was watching the video from hbomberguy, one of the things that just kept popping into my head about this plagiarism stuff is the fact, this conversation that is constantly being had about like AI art and AI voice acting, at least in the world of games and just artists in general. That's kind of scary. But the reason that we're all scared isn't because we can't outperform the AI. The AI is inherently stealing from artists to make it. It's replicating. It's never going to be better, right? But the scary thing for artists in general and writers and, creators, it's not that we can't outperform it when it's head to head, it's that it can do it faster than us, and people's standards are lowering a lot. I mean, one of the things that, like, if you've ever been on TikTok or YouTube Shorts before, I'm absolutely positive that you've seen a video with like subway surfers in the background and then a Reddit post read by an AI voice over the top of it. Those videos get unbelievable amounts of views, and it's sludge. If you click on the accounts and actually like look a little bit at them, a lot of them are like nothing accounts because they get, copyright claims, blah, blah, blah. But they're posting so many of these things, and because people will sit there and watch them for whatever reason, it's not because it's good, it's regurgitating someone else's words from Reddit and someone else's gameplay, and it's not even their voice reading it. But because they're able to post them so quickly and they're able to do so much of it, and the content from Reddit is occasionally interesting, they do really, really well. And that's the scary thing that I think is kind of just lurking underneath hbomberguy's video the whole time. It's not that people are plagiarizing that's terrifying, it's that it's so highly incentivized for them to do so. Ironically enough, the hbomberguy's video in and of itself is kind of the antithesis of what I'm talking about. It's a video he took a very long time to work on, to put out, to make it provocative and interesting, and it's performing extremely well. It's at like 3.5 million views as I'm recording this. But the reality is that that video is kind of an outlier, and especially on smaller content creators where you're not as, like, the algorithm isn't as familiar with your content, so it doesn't know where to push it. It can be really risky to make something that takes that much time and that much effort. For a lot of us, you know, this isn't our job. It's not something we're doing because we want to make money off of it. It's something we're doing because we enjoy it. But at the end of the day, it kind of sucks, and it's hard to enjoy it if you make something that you put a bunch of effort into and then nobody watches it. It is extremely easy to slip into the idea that what we're doing has no value when you're competing against these people that can just push stuff out unbelievably quickly. And it doesn't matter how good it is, it's out there and there's a lot of it, and that's kind of what you're fighting against. I also stream on Twitch, and there's a sentiment you commonly hear from mainly just like middle-aged dudes that don't know what they're doing. But the idea that, like, you know, titties are stealing my views, that kind of thing, you hear that all the time. First of all, that's just wrong. You're not getting views probably because your content sucks. Look inward first before you look outward. But the sentiment that's there, I sadly completely understand, even if they're coming at it the exact wrong way and they're complaining about the wrong thing. I understand how they feel because I feel the same way about low effort content on YouTube. I'm currently working on a project that is at this point shaping up to be like 2-ish hours long, and I'm really excited about it. But the reality is I'm also kind of terrified because I don't know if anybody's going to watch it. And I'm sure that's how those people complaining about boobs stealing their views or whatever also feel. Now, they're wrong, but that's how they feel inside, that something that they're putting effort into, someone else is, you know, giving less effort and getting all of their reward. Again, they're stupid, but the point remains that it's very, very terrifying to feel like you're putting effort into something and then someone else takes all the reward away. And not even the reward, man, just like the credit. That's the scariest part about the hbomberguy video to me, is that these amazing writers and editors and creators are doing awesome things and they just get stolen and re-uploaded by some sweaty dude sitting in his room putting it over the top of fucking Subway Surfers. There's very little that we can do about it. I constantly bounce back and forth as far as my own channel goes between, like, man, I should just make, you know, a bajillion low effort videos like the booby video that pulled like 90,000 views for me, and then that'll be how I grow my audience. But at the same time, I also give a shit about quality, and I don't really want that to be what I'm known for. So it's definitely very poignant that he released this video, you know, with all of the conversation about AI art and AI voice acting. And just in general, I think content creation is at a point where a lot of us are really scared about being left behind, not because we're worse than what's being pushed in the algorithm, but because we're slower and it takes less effort for them to do it because they're stealing from other people. That's why I'm glad that there's people like hbomberguy out there making these really entertaining, long videos, working on things that are, you know, require effort, working on something that they put their heart and their soul into, this content that absolutely is a reflection of who they are as a person and as a creator. That's the reason that a lot of us do this, is because we want to share a part of ourselves, of our life, of our taste with you, the person watching the video. And sharing a part of yourself is scary. And there's very low incentive to do it when stealing gets a lot more reward for a lot less effort. And it's also a lot easier to just steal content than it is to actually share a part of yourself. People are going to call you an idiot. They're going to call you stupid. They're going to make fun of you. And those people insulting you might be the only people that actually end up watching whatever it is you did. And yet there's a lot of content creators, myself included, that are going to keep doing it anyways. I guess that's my point here at the end of this, is that if you see someone making something interesting or intriguing, engage with it. There is a lot of white noise, angry white noise out there, ready to just stomp out people that are trying to do cool things before they have any chance to even find out who they are as a creator and what they want to do with it. Be it a small creator or a large creator, a lot of us are fighting against that. hbomberguy pointed it out in a 4-hour video that people are absolutely going crazy over for good reason. That's the reason that I'm even sitting here talking about this right now, is I feel like he hit the nail on the head. A lot of what small creators, medium-sized, every creator that's actually making something is fighting against is this wave of people that can't or won't or just don't want to make something for themselves, so they steal it from other people. Regurgitated content, stolen content, AI voiceovers of ChatGPT scripts. The craziest thing about all of this to me is how much it gets mirrored in other industries that are not content creation. As an indie game aficionado, I see a lot of people complaining about how, like, Call of Duty's the fucking same every year. I hate it. And then they don't touch indie games because indie games don't get the eyes on them that Diablo 4 does or Call of Duty does. And the best sellers every year are not indie games. It's sports games that come out every year and Call of Duty that comes out every other year. The incentives are stacked up against high effort things, and that doesn't stop them from existing. It just makes it a lot less frequent that they win. You know, content creation is often referred to as like a free market where the best product wins. But that's not entirely true, because a free market only functions correctly if there aren't people cheating. And there's a lot of morally bankrupt people that are trying to skip the line. And you want to know what? They win a lot. My point here, I guess, is when you see something good, just support it. Be a part of the positive influence on these creators that are trying to make something important, or trying to make something that's a part of themselves, or that's just trying. And I mean, now that I've gotten to the end of this, I guess I hope that something that I've said has resonated with you a little bit, or maybe just kind of tipped you on to what actually goes on. And the reason that so many smaller content creators burn out, it's not because we don't love this or we don't want to try. It's because it's really hard. It's hard to drown out those negative voices that are going to be talking to you. And it's really just a lot of effort for oftentimes very little reward. So yeah, support small creators, support people doing cool things, and just do me a favor. The next time one of those Reddit posts pops up on your YouTube short feed, just do a little dislike, do not recommend channel for me. Now that I'm done with this, I'm probably gonna try and edit this, and I'll throw it over. Like, I have some footage of world bosses in Guild Wars 2. I'll probably throw it over that, just so that the ADHD iPad babies can maybe pay a little bit of attention to what I'm saying. And I'm probably gonna go and, you know, finish the rest of the hbomberguy video. It's really good. Hopefully this doesn't just come off as a rant. I really hope that this doesn't come off as me complaining about, like, the YouTube algorithm. There's a lot more underlying problems, and personally, for my own content, there is a lot of work to be done. Trust me, I know. But yeah, that's that for now. Thanks for watching.